well, good morning, everyone. We are recording, and welcome to March 15th, our last and final recording for Capital Connection. We have a completed session underneath our belts, and going to hop into that. And again, just want to thank everyone for being on this call and being on calls throughout our legislative session. And again, these calls are recorded. If you have any questions, especially with the group, go ahead and just, if you have anything to throw in while we're talking about the subject in hand, don't even feel like you need to wait till the end. We can take questions as they pop up. But again, want to thank everyone. And if you have to drop off by the end, I do want to thank Anna at the head here. She did a great job even coming in and putting together these PowerPoints at the beginning or on her days off, and keeping me well organized and keeping us on the track here as we're wrapping up. And we are on day number 2. Excuse me. We are on day number 2 of Miss Sarah Beth Wyatt being the president and CEO of the Greater Winter Haven Chamber of Commerce, which we are absolutely thrilled about. And of course, on our number 2 day here, it looks like she's having audio issues from the other side of that wall over there, but she could probably hear me. But just want to thank her for getting on. And I know she's drinking from a fire hose right now, but I told her a few minutes ago I am and will be graciously handing this back to her. And however she proceeds to go with this for next year, that will be completely her choice. But it's been my pleasure and my honor to kind of steer the ship for the past couple of weeks. But again, couldn't have done it without the board's help. I see Ms. Jennifer Fasking on the call. I want to thank her for her guidance and leadership during this time. And there's Sarah Beth. Good morning, and glad to have her joining the team yesterday. But again, thank you to everyone, and we'll go ahead and kick things off here. Okay. And again, these people are kicking back, drinking their beverage of choice today. We had a completed session as of, I think, about 1:08 yesterday. They hightailed it out of there, but we did the press conferences, we shook the hands, and gave the farewell speeches, especially with Senator Stargell. You know, she's termed out, but we have her aide, Mr. Chad Davis, on the call today. He'll give a wrap up at the end. But definitely just want to extend her a specific congratulations and thanks for being our representative in the Senate for all this time. And she's passed some meaningful legislation, as well as being chair of the Appropriations Committee. And they just finalized and passed the largest budget in the state of Florida's history. So obviously had a ton of great work and a lot of wonderful things being funded through that. So special thanks to her and to her team. All right. And here's our final by the numbers. Again, we started this session on January 11th and wrapping up yesterday, which was March 14th. As you can see, bills that passed, both changers were 285. 14 bills have already been signed by Governor DeSantis, but as Mr. Davis mentioned last week, the governor usually signs, and it could be more or less this year, but we average about 40 bills signed into law each session. Again, could be plus or minus that number. But now that the legislature is not in session, the governor has 15 days from the date the bill lands on his desk to sign or veto it. And there are some wiggle room for certain bills outside of that 15 days, I believe. Mr. Davis can elaborate more in his remarks, but more or less, it needs to be signed within the next 2 weeks to become official Florida state law. And we'll give you a quick 2022 Florida legislative session recap. First up, as was one of the first bills passed and signed, was Senate Bill 7014, which went and again was signed into law on February 24th. This extended your COVID liability protections for healthcare providers through June 1st of 2023. Again, want to give a special thanks to our delegates, Senator Danny Burgess and Representative Colleen Burton, for their works on this effort. Had they have not extended that protection, it would have already expired by now. So that was critical to maintaining that healthcare facilities in our area would continue to receive that level of protection. And did get under the wire. Last week, Senate Bill 620 was adopted into the House and placed on for second reading of the calendar. There were 3 attempts to add amendments to the bill, but all 3 failed. The bill was read for a 3rd time and was passed on March 9th by a vote of 69 to 45. As a reminder, this bill allows businesses to recover damages from local governments if an ordinance or provision creates a significant loss in revenue. It is now headed to Governor DeSantis's desk for his signature or veto. The other preemption bill, Senate Bill 280, that required local governments to adopt business impact statements was indefinitely postponed and withdrawn from consideration on March 12th. So that did not make it out, and they'll maybe make an attempt at the next session. During week 8 of session, the full House passed Senate Bill 434, which is your Visit Florida tourism marketing dollars. And again, this is extension beyond October 1st of 2023. This one will extend it through 2028 because the amendment was passed on Senate Bill 434. Went back to the Senate for another vote on Tuesday, March 8th, and the Senate passed the bill as amended by a vote of 36 to 3. This bill is now headed to Governor DeSantis's desk for his signature or veto. And again, very critical to our market as a secondary and tertiary tourism market. We are quite well, we need those tourism marketing dollars. So we're happy to see Visit Florida fully funded for the foreseeable future. Another thing that passed, which was a huge priority of the governor and our state legislature, was the redoing of the end of year monitoring system and moving that to a throughout the year monitoring system for student state testing. This was Senate Bill 1048 and was adopted into the House and placed on a second reading calendar. There were 5 attempts to add amendments to the bill, but all 5 either failed or were not allowed for consideration. The bill was read for a 3rd time and was passed on March 9th by a vote of 83 to 31. As a reminder, this bill replaces the end of the year all or nothing test with a progress monitoring testing system. Yesterday, the bill was signed by officers and presented to the governor. He now has 15 days to either sign or veto the bill. Although it is expected that he will sign it, as this was a big priority for him this year. All right, also saw a few additional bills from the Chamber's legislative priority statement get passed this session. House Bill 777 requires referenda elections to be held on general election days for taxes related to tourism, children's services, fuel taxes, and certain school district millage elections. Senate Bill 962 authorizes counties and municipalities respectively to approve any residential development projects on a land zone for commercial or industrial use if 10% of the project's units are reserved for affordable housing, with the caveat that the developer apply or receive funding from the state's multifamily affordable housing program cell. Senate Bill 196 amends definitions and regulations related to the affordable housing development purchasing process and deletes certain limitations and restrictions on loans for the sponsors of housing for the elderly under the state apartment incentive loan program. Senate Bill 364 revises pre-sale voucher requirements and annual use fees for specialty license plates, such as out-of-state college and university plates and Live the Dream specialty license plates. Senate Bill 2508 provides a framework for continuing existing water supply management efforts by the South Florida Water Management District and reaffirms the important Lake Okeechobee water supply management for Florida's water quality and quantity needs. No, throw a lot out at you there. Any questions on any of those bills that are passed and awaiting signature? All right, seeing none, moving on. All right, as you see on your screen here, these were a few bills that we were tracking, but fell short of the finish line, just did not make it past the floor vote, and we'll have to be reconsidered for future legislatures. But Senate Bill 800 encouraged development and job growth in opportunity zones in rural communities. House Bill 9 regulated companies that collect or sell consumer data and provides consumers the right to request that data be deleted, not sold or corrected. Again, that was gonna see a whole host of, I guess, civil actions. So just didn't see the light of day on that one. Senate Bill 1412 protected Florida's foundational document from special interests by proposing an amendment to the state constitution that would limit initiatives to procedural subjects or the structure of government. And Senate Bill 280 again required local governments to adopt a business impact statement before the adoption of an ordinance, and awarded attorney fees if it was found by the courts that the local ordinance is arbitrary, unreasonable, or prohibited by law. And again, the ones you see here did not make it across the finish line, and as such will not be signed into law. All right, the big thing that took up the bulk of the time at the end of the session was the budget. The legislative session did see the passage of the largest budget in Florida's history at a proposed $112.1 billion, which includes $3.5 billion in federal relief funding. And as you see here is the percentage breakdown of the budget line items. See a big chunk for healthcare, 43.5, K through 12 and higher, 26.12, and as it kind of breaks out for the others as well. But again, the largest budget in the state of Florida's history. The legislature also approved a host of tax-free holidays and incentives for the 22-23 fiscal year, including a one-year tax exemption on Energy Star appliances, a one-year tax exemption on diapers and baby and children's clothes and shoes, a 3-month exemption on children's books, and a 1-month exemption on fuel taxes scheduled for October. The 14-day back to school and emergency preparedness sales tax holidays were renewed, and a 7-day Freedom Week and tool time tax holidays were added to the calendar. Tool time tax holidays, much to the approval of Tim the Toolman Taylor. Horrible joke. I apologize. All right. Last, thank you, Sarah Beth, for the courtesy laugh. I see that. But all right, last little bit of work that this legislature might have to take up. House and state maps were passed and approved by the Florida Supreme Court. However, the congressional map has not been approved. At this time, there are 2 maps out there. Governor DeSantis says he will veto those maps if they come across his desk. So I think Chad can probably speak to that in more detail, but it sounds like if they do gavel in a special session, they'll gavel it in, possibly immediately gavel it out, and just send this one straight to the courts. And that's the last I've heard about this. And again, it's incredibly crucial to Florida because we did gain a congressional seat this year. So people are going to get out there and start campaigning, needing to know what district they're campaigning for. Again, that's why we had the early session this year. So our legislators, every last one of them, I believe, have to run for re-election this year. So that'll obviously pick up steam and will need to be settled before the summer, if not sooner. And that's it. That's our wrap up. That's our recap of everything we had going on, everything the state of Florida legislature had going on. Sarah Beth and I are talking about possibly doing a legislative recap here in the next month or two. So if y'all have any input on that, let us know. We'll have to work obviously with calendars and availability. We'll let you know if we get a date on the calendar for that. So I will open it up to questions for the group at this time if there are any. And again, appreciate y'all hanging in with us during these past 2 months. All right, not seeing any questions. I know Mr. Davis wanted to hop on with his thoughts from Senator Starge's office, and see him popping on there right now, grabbing a drink at Haven Coffee. So welcome back to Winter Haven, Mr. Davis.
Hey, thanks. Hi, everybody. It's good to be home. It's been a long session. It's been a long 8 sessions for me. This is my last one, so I'm done in this capacity. And I've been thinking a lot about that lately. But we're glad to be here. Yesterday we finally died. We had to go over and into overtime. We didn't have the budget quite ready last week by the deadline. Sine die was it was interesting. If you haven't been, they dropped the hankies. That's a long-standing tradition in the legislature. Goes back to the old Capitol days when they would need to gavel out at the same time and they couldn't see each other across the hall. So the sergeants at arms from each the House and the Senate would meet halfway in the rotunda and they drop a hanky. And when the hanky fell, that's when they would gavel out together. So that's kind of where that tradition comes from. Yesterday, we all gathered. It was a little after 1 o'clock for the dropping of the hanky, and then the governor came out to give his speech. And it's kind of fitting for this session. A protest erupted. Some protesters in the fifth level started dropping 10,000 fake $100 bills with DeSantis' face on it while chanting, "Fund our communities, not corporations." I'm not exactly sure what they're referring to, but that kind of briefly interrupted things, and we got back on track with the speeches. And it was a fun time for sure. So this session, historic in many ways. I think the budget for sure. I don't know if we'll ever see a budget quite like that. It was quite large, mainly because of the pandemic funding coming from the Fed, but also because this state has stayed open. We're doing very, very well with our economy right now, and we took advantage of that. I think the biggest takeaway from the budget is what we did in the Senate with increasing state pay. We are ahead by 4 years from the rest of the state by providing $15 an hour minimum wage for all state employees. We gave significant raises and cost of living adjustments across the board. And I think that's going to make the public sector job market much more competitive and hopefully bring in the quality of employees that we want serving in that capacity. Just as I'm leaving the public sector, I'm glad to see that everybody else is going to, get a little extra money that they deserve. In education, Sarah Beth can definitely speak more to this, but I know that we increased the per student funding. I think it's at a historic high now. We'll be breaking down education funding quite a bit more, but I know we did quite well there, as well as with higher education. Polk State, I got money for the science building as they requested. Locally, I think the big things are going to be the water project. There were 2 water projects that got funded. One in Eagle Lake and one in Haines City. Those are entered separately from the Polk County Water Co-op. If you're familiar with how that co-op works, the co-op is where all of our cities have come together and they come up with their list of priorities, and we fund the co-op, and then they distribute the money based on their priorities. And we've been doing that now for a few years. We got that into statute to create the cooperative. And it looked like that funding wasn't quite there until the very end. Then we got the full $20 million that they requested for the water co-op. So Polk County did quite well in the budget. I'm sure there are reasons for that, but we're very proud of how we fared. As far as policy goes, I think if you've been paying attention to the media, the big issues that really made a splash for all the culture war social issues, that kind of reached a high point last week with the parental rights bill that the opponents keep calling the Don't Say Gay bill. They apparently haven't read the bill, and Disney has now entered into the fray and announced they're going to stop giving political donations in Florida for the time being. And our governor does not seem swayed by that at all. He doesn't care. So that kind of that was all the news in Tallahassee last week. Really, I think on the ground, what everybody cares about is, the parents, they just don't want certain material being taught to their children in grades K through 3. We're not too worried about how that's going to play locally and among actual voters. And then, of course, the maps, the congressional maps, that's going to be the ongoing issue. We probably will go back for a special session. What we just saw yesterday play out, there were 9 Republicans in the House who voted against the map. And one of those was Blaise Ngolia. He is a House member who is, through redistricting, he's now in the Senate district running against Representative Ralph Mazzullo. Ralph Mazzullo voted for the map, and he is the favored pick by the Senate leadership. There were rumors that he was about to be endorsed by all the leaders. And then yesterday, the governor endorsed Blaise Ngolia, and now the rumors are, and I'm not saying anything you can't read in the political gossip news sites, but the rumors are that Ralph Mazzullo may be dropping out of the race. So we're expecting to see more of that. We've also seen something similar up in Jacksonville. You had 3 representatives who wanted to run for the Senate: Clay Yarbrough, Cord Byrd, and Jason Fisher. When the leadership in the Senate came and endorsed Clay Yarbrough, Jason Fisher and Cord Byrd dropped out of the race. Both of them voted against the maps, and last night Jason Fisher was spotted leaving the governor's office. So you're going to start seeing more of that locally. How that might affect us, I don't know. I don't know if there's been any discussion regarding Representative Colleen Burton, who's planning to run for the Senate seat here. But there may be something coming out of that in the future. So keep an eye on that. But that's the political side of it. Otherwise, I think we had a pretty good session. The main issues, that we're most proud of, the House got their priority. They got a few priorities, but a big one for them was a fatherhood package that really emphasizes and supports fatherhood. Lots of programs that are important to the Speaker of the House that help both actual fathers and men that step in father roles to help children who don't have a father figure. That was pretty big to him. And then in the Senate president's big issue, he wanted some environmental policy passed that would affect South Florida, the Everglades, Lake Okeechobee, that area. We came to some negotiations and got a bill passed there that everybody seems happy with. Then the governor, he got quite a few of his priorities. He got his what he calls the Stop Woke Act that will affect both employers and schools. Anybody, whether it's an employee or a student who feels targeted based on certain characteristics, their race, their sex, their origin, that somehow they're made to feel guilty based on those characteristics, they would have some means of recourse. There was originally a cause of action there that would allow for some lawsuits, and those were pulled out. There was not much of an appetite to increase those causes of action, at least in the Senate, and I think that got negotiated out. But that was a big one for the governor. He also wanted an immigration bill that would allow Florida to stop funding any carrier that brings illegal immigrants into the state of Florida without an agreement between the state and the federal government. There are reports up in Jacksonville where planes are flying in, 3 a.m. in the middle of the night and dropping off some undocumented folks, and the governor's trying to get some control over that. He may be trying to stop some of it, but I think he's really just trying to get some control over it, make sure that the state has an agreement with the feds on how they're going to do that. So those are just some of the big issues. I know there was a lot more that we did, but right now I'm running on very minimal sleep, and I'll be much more able to talk about this stuff in the future. We have our legislative wrap-ups. Of course, you'll be hearing from the legislators then, and they're the experts. They're in the room when it all happened, and they'll be able to answer all your questions. But it's good to be back. I'm really proud of our delegation, and I think we overall had a very successful session.
Yeah, awesome. Chad, thank you so much for that recap. And again, thank you so much for all the hard work you and your team, and obviously Senator Stargell, did on our behalf. And we really appreciate it. Are there any questions for Chad? Any comments? Okay.
I'll just say thank you to both of you for running this over the past few months. You've done an incredible job. Don't think you're off the hook quite yet, Nick. I think you're still our government relations chair for the chamber. And Chad, I'm hopeful that you'll still be plugged in and engaged and join us in the future from a bird's eye view of what's happening, even if you're not in Tallahassee, because you truly are a wealth of knowledge about what's going on. And not being there, I don't think will stop you from being engaged and knowing what's going on in the process. So just thanks to you both.
Yeah, I would welcome that opportunity. By then it'll be more of a hobby, and I'll be able to watch some of the stuff from afar, but still have a better understanding of what's going on. As I've told lots of people when I explain session, everything doesn't make sense unless you know, then everything makes sense. So
yes,
be happy to bring
that's a good way to put it.
Sarah Beth, I don't know if you heard him. He needs a job, so I can fully nominate him to be the government relations chair now. So.
Okay. We'll work on a job. We'll find something, I'm sure.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah Beth. And again, want to give props to Anna just off screen here, but she's done a great job just keeping this organized, keeping the information up to date. And hopefully everyone found some useful information out of this. And we'll be back here, I guess, early spring next year. So thank you. And everyone have a great and productive rest of your year.